Hi, my name is Alex Konieczny. I'm a historic interpreter here at the beautiful Troy Historic Village. In 1955, Troy became a city, and since then it has grown to a bustling, multicultural city full of people from all over the world. This project, Many Stories, One Heritage, seeks to record the authentic stories of first and second generation Asian American immigrants to this city who now call it home. The following interview you're about to hear is one of 12 interviews we've recorded for the Many Stories, One Heritage project.
I have a daughter, just two of us. She is a ninth grader. She's going to be 15 next month.
And what was life like in China for you before you came to the United States?
Life in China before I came here was slow-paced, simple, boring sometimes, fresh air, organic food. Friends will stop by, knock on your door without having to make appointment, because there's no way to make appointment, no telephone, no cell phone, no email. Life was very simple.
So tell me a little bit about some of the places you've lived growing up.
I was born in a little town. When I was 4, my parents moved to countryside. My father wanted to be a farmer. She was a school teacher, math teacher. When the village people found out there's a teacher move in, they were very happy. So they said, "Oh no, we don't want you to become a farmer. We want you to build a high school for us." So he ended up building a high school with them. He didn't become a farmer. I forgot what was the question.
It's just a little bit about the places you've lived growing up.
Oh, and then we lived in that college village for 6 months, and then the school was built. The school was also built a 2-room house for us. It's my parents and my younger brother and me. We live outside the school wall. There's nobody within 2 miles of us, maybe 1 mile of us. So it's just in the middle of nowhere. It's a school, and then one house, that's our house. And then we were there for maybe 6 years. And another place found my father. There's a teachers college. They heard that there's a math teacher in this high school. They said, we want him. So we moved to there. Part of the reason was that the teachers college was run by a equivalent of county government, but it was reside in a village. So it was like no one was supervising it. So later I found out it became a concentration of all the bad people, the landlord, former landlords, former anti-revolutionary, and my father was rightist. Those were all the 9 kinds of bad people. And so we moved there, and we stayed there until a few more years, until things changed, political environment changed. My father became a good person again, and then he doesn't have to run and hide. He wanted to go back to his hometown, which is in another province. And this province didn't want him to go because he was considered as a specialist or something. He was a very good teacher. So they gave him an honor to keep him. And then we moved to the town I was born. We went back. So we left the country. We went back to little town. And I spent 3 more years there. That was my high school. My father said part of the reason we moved back is for education. Is the town has a little better school. And then when I was 16, I went to Beijing Normal University to study. In China, you have to pass an entrance exam. That was a 3-day exam. The whole country held it. That was very crucial for a young person's life. I passed that exam. I went to Beijing Normal University, becoming a teacher. Both my parents were teachers, and I ended up becoming a math teacher, like my father, except I was teaching in a college, not in high school. So I spent 10 years in Beijing, 4-year college, and 6 years teaching in a geoscience university, China University of Geosciences. And then when I was 26, I came to US. I went to Ann Arbor. I spent 2 years to study, have my master's degree in statistics, 1 year working at university, and then I moved to Warren, Michigan. I worked there for how many years? 1 year as data analyst. Then I had my own company doing translation, culture exchange training for China operation. That was when they were trying to build a factory in Shanghai. They were trying to, I think they were competing with Ford to get that contract. So Ford win that contract. Now they're selling Buick in China. I think they made more money in China than the rest of the world. After they got that settled, there's not much service needed from me, and I went back to become a data analyst. And then I worked in many different companies. I think I moved from Warren to Chicago for 6 months, and I moved back to Ann Arbor. So I spent, my daughter was born in Ann Arbor. I spent, I think, 6 years in Ann Arbor, and then I moved to this Metro Detroit area. I think I spent, I lived in many, many places. Yeah.
Tell me about your experience coming over to the U.S. from China. What did that entail?
Coming to U.S. was not really well planned by me. Was more follow my friend's footstep. I said I work for this geoscience university. There are a lot of young teachers, and we all live in the dorms, and we all became friends. And the university offer English classes for all the young teachers and the graduate students. So we had nothing else to do. There's not much entertainment or nightlife or anything. So learning English became a fun project for most of us. So we spent a lot of time hang out and learn English. I had only bachelor degree when I was teaching at the university. I was teaching both undergraduate and graduate students in the geologists. But a lot of my friends were geoscientists. They had master degree or PhD degree. So they were able to get scholarship here. So they came, a lot of them came here to study geosciences. And they all say you should go to US. I have only bachelor degree and I have no money. I don't know anybody there. So the summer of 1990, I came back from summer vacation. One friend who is working at Intel right now, he was shopping for, come here, shopping for shoes, clothes, and books and everything. And then he saw me, he said, you should seriously consider coming to US because if you look around, no one is gonna hang out with you. I think about it, I thought, that's so true. And I thought, okay, how do I go about doing this? And he handed me over a $100 bill. I've never seen money that big, that much. He said, just go take GRE. I said, what is this? He said, that's something, if you go to US study, you have to take. So I said, if I don't make it, how am I going to return the money to you? And he said, don't worry, that if you make to the America, return the money to me. If you don't make it, it's just a bad investment. And so I went to take GRE. When I got to the place, they said, it's not time for GRE yet, but you can register for TOEFL, which is English proficiency test. I said, okay, so I did that, and then later I did the GRE, and I felt like it's a big investment for me. So the next year, 1991, I got a lot of admissions from various universities, but no money. And without the scholarship, I couldn't go. I realized that I have to apply for money. So eventually, I was lucky. I had a full scholarship from University of Michigan that I could come on scholarship. So that's how I got to come here. And before, people asked me, why did you come to America? And I was always joking. I said, I was single. I came to find a husband. And I did find one.
Had you ever been to the U.S. before you moved here?
No, I had no idea what U.S. is, except in China, growing up, U.S. was enemy, and we saw a lot of Russian movies, Soviet Union movies. Lenin in 1918 was revolution movie, the story about how Lenin came into power. In the movie, there's in World War II, there's Russians and the Germans. And when I retell those movies, I would say the Chinese and the Americans. So Chinese, all the good people are Chinese. Like I use Chinese to represent good people, and the American, the bad people. So that's how I grew up. American was enemy. And then when I was teaching at the university, my English teachers were Americans, and we became friends. And I had English writing class. My English writing class teacher, whatever I wrote, whatever I say I wrote, he always made comments, if you go to the West, you would have social success. And I was like, how do you know? You're not Chinese. I don't know what the West is. I don't think I'll go there. But somehow along the way, the image has changed. America became a rich, free, democratic country. So the image has changed. America is a place everybody want to go. And to a lot of people, they actually made it. And I wasn't sure if I could come here. But without all my friends came here, I thought that if I want to hang out with my friend, I better also give it a try. But I didn't have money. because I was making $15 a month, and that was food, and there's nothing left. So I asked my parents, I said, you must have saved some money for me, because the Chinese parents save money for their children's wedding. I said, you must have saved money for me for my wedding. And I don't think I'm going to get married anytime soon or ever. Maybe you give money now, I can use the money to apply for schools. And that probably a better investment. So my parents was very open-minded. They said, okay, that's your money, whatever you want to do. So they gave me 3,000 yen. It's about a few $100s. So I used those to pay the application fee, postage. By the time I came here, I think I had $40 left. No, $20 left. And I came here, I have $45 in my pocket. I think I had my own $20 and $25 from a friend who was working for a joint venture who had more money. When she found out I was going with $20, she said, how can you go with only $20 in your pocket? I said, that's all I have. And she said, here, I have $25. You can just take it. I said, when am I going to see you again? How am I going to return the money? And she said, oh, don't worry. If you see me, return. Otherwise, don't even, no big deal. She was rich. So that was how I start my American life with $45. I always remember.
Never having been here before, was it, what kind of, what were you feeling when you first came? Were you like afraid or not sure what to expect?
When like took me 2 years to apply, and the second year, I think the end of April sometime. Yeah, I think end of April. Nothing. There's admission letters, but there's no scholarship. And so one day, I think one weekend, I was very desperate, very sad, because at the end of April, that people made decision already, and it was the end of admission. I was very sad. I thought I have to wait another year. For another year, I ran out of money, and there's no hope. And my boss thought I was not a good teacher because I was not concentrating on my teaching. I was doing the side job, applying for college. I was very sad. I thought that was the lowest point in my life. But the next Monday, I got the admission. Not the admission. I got a letter from University of Michigan saying that you didn't pay application fee, $45 application fee. If you send us $45 admission application fee, we would release the I-20 to you. Basically, we're giving you a scholarship, full scholarship, tuition waiver plus stipend. But you have to send us $45 application first. I thought, oh gosh, Americans are so dumb. You're gonna give me a full scholarship that's thousands of dollars. Now you're asking for $45. Why can't you just pay the $45 and deduct from my? I thought, oh, how stubborn, how one-way thinking. But I was very happy, so I called my English teacher right away. I said, let me read this letter to you. I think this means that if I send a $45 check, they're gonna give me a full scholarship. And he was very happy. And he said, oh, Ann Arbor is so beautiful. I said, I don't care. If it's hell, I'm going. He said, just come over, I will write you a check. So I went over, he wrote me a check, and I put in the mail. As it turned out, the check should have been to the RECOM, the graduate school admission office, but I mistakenly sent it to the statistics department. That kind of delayed. And I think the domino effect is that I came to school very late, later than other people. But that's how I came. I think it just lucked out that I came. I didn't think about Michigan snow, cold. I didn't think of any of that. And even when my teacher told me Ann Arbor is beautiful, I said, I don't care. That's the last thing on my mind. I'm going, I'm leaving here. I'm coming to America, that's all I care. It took me 4 airplanes to get to Detroit. When I received the I-20, I booked a ticket, China Airline, but it took longer than usual to get my passport. In China at that time, you cannot get a passport unless you have legitimate reason to go abroad. Until I cannot apply a passport before, even though I know I was going. But I have to wait for my 20. When I got my 20, I went to apply for a passport. Usually it takes 6 weeks, but somehow 6 weeks up, I went to pick it up and it wasn't ready. Then the ticket, the air ticket, that I have to cancel because I couldn't come on time. I think I was only half day or 1 day off. But so I have to buy another ticket in a rush. So I have to fly to Hong Kong, San Francisco, San Francisco to Chicago, Chicago to Detroit. I remember the last leg of the trip, I was sitting next to 2 students that was going to Wayne State University. So they were asking me where I'm going. I said, I'm going to Ann Arbor. And they gave me a look. Said, like, oh, gosh, Ann Arbor. And we're going to Detroit, a big city. Ann Arbor is like a little place. Because in China, big city is better than small place. And I thought, oh, gosh, I wonder what place I'm going. Like, people give me that kind of look. And then when I got to Ann Arbor, I was telling them, I said, is Wayne State much better than University of Michigan, or Detroit is better? Because people gave me that look when I told them that I was coming to Ann Arbor. I said, oh, no, Ann Arbor is better. I said, okay. I wouldn't care that too much about that. And then a friend picked me up from the airport. It was 10 o'clock something at night. And I got into his car. And he was taking me from Metro Airport to Ann Arbor. On the way, we rarely see any car. That was a big surprise to me because in China, everywhere was people, cars, was traffic, and America looks very, very empty. And it was very green, surprisingly green. It was August 20th. It was very green, empty. But that was very strange. I still remember that first impression. And the next morning, I had jet lag, so I got up very early. I went out. I couldn't open my eye because the sun was very, very bright. I see lots of squirrels. In China, I don't see so many wild animals. I thought, wow, this is not China. In China, there's a saying that the foreign moons are rounder, saying it's like grass is greener the other side. We say the moon is rounder in another country, and then the next morning I said, I don't know if the moon is rounder here, but the sun is definitely brighter. I didn't know. Now I know the reason, because in China there's a lot of pollution, so the sun was not as strong as here. Yeah, that was that was I think the biggest change in my life was coming to America. And I'm glad I came to a very beautiful place.
So tell me about your first week in the United States.
The first week, I said a friend of friend picked me up. So we got to his apartment. That was a student housing. He has a wife and a daughter, beautiful daughter. A one-bedroom apartment, but to me that was a mansion. In China, I live in a one-room dorm, share with 2 other people. It's just a bare room. There's nothing. I have to go out to share the bathroom and shower facilities. I have to go to a dining hall to eat, and to his place. It was a one-room apartment. It has a kitchen, and it has a huge bathroom. And that was like, wow, this is paradise. And he put me in his neighbor's apartment because a neighbor's husband was not home. He went back to China, so the neighbor, the wife, was home alone. So I spent 10 days with that neighbor. I didn't plan to stay as a guest any place for 10 days. That was very inconvenient for all of us. But first time I realized that the cost of freedom in China, when I graduated from college, I was assigned a dorm. I didn't have to think what kind of housing I need to choose. I was assigned a dorm, and I have to go eat at the dining hall. There's no choice, and there's no bill. I don't pay any utility or anything. There's no bank account I have to open because there's no leftover money. And I have to find my own housing. First thing, I must find a place to stay. And I didn't know how, and so they were helping me. And we were looking at the ads and this, and so they were saying that you can live close to campus, but it's more expensive. You can walk to school. If you want to live cheaper, then you have to take a bus or something. So the first time in my life that I have to think about where do I live, because when I was still student, I live on campus dorm. When I was a teacher, was teaching, was also a dorm on campus. I never had lived off campus, never had to think about any of those. It took me 10 days because first I thought, okay, I want to find a place that, so I was telling this friend, she said, what do you want? I said, I want a place that by the river has nice grass and flowers, close to campus. And he said, were you very rich in China? I said, no. I said, why you want all this good stuff? And he said, do you realize your scholarship is for 8 months? You don't get paid for the 4 months summer. And then I realized, oh, I have to budget. Right? Because in China I was paid every month. I have to budget. And then, and he suggested live on campus as close as possible. So we end up find a place in near where my department is. And because I came in late, because all the passport and visa delay, when I got here, all the Chinese students are already paired up and find roommates. I couldn't find a Chinese roommate. So I ended up sharing an apartment with 2 Indian students. And because of that, I think my English was better. I had to talk to them in English, and their English was very good. And they were second year, third year students here, so they knew a lot more than us. And I think the first day I moved in, they said, did you open your bank account? I said, what is that? They said, well, you have to have a bank. I said, okay. So I went to open a bank account. But then they tell me the rent and the deposit. They said, there is a deposit on the apartment. I said, why deposit? I said, oh, don't worry. You don't need to worry about this. We paid that already. And the money we get back eventually, so you don't need to pay the deposit. And you don't have to pay the first month rent. We paid it. You just paid us back when you get your first month's stipend. And whatever money you have, you open a bank account because it has a minimum requirement, but I didn't have that money, so I opened a credit union, $5 minimum membership. So $45 I put in my bank. Oh, I don't remember. I couldn't put all of that because I need some money for grocery. Yeah, I think I moved in the first day or second day. My friend, probably right away, my friend took me to Kroger, I think, or Meijer for grocery shopping, because now I have my own apartment. I have to cook. And when I got into the Meijer or Kroger, I was having a huge culture shock. My friend's wife showing me the drink section. Colorful drinks, blue water, green water. Even now, I've never tried that. I have no interest in orange water. And she said, look, all the selections, they're all good. So I have no interest in drinking colored water. I remember, the first meal she made for us was huge pepper they were so huge. They were colorful. There was red, green, and yellow. I've never seen. I only saw green pepper in China, and they were not that big. It was huge and colorful, but they taste horrible. I thought that was the first thing I was dreadful about the food. The food is so bland. It had no taste, but it looked so nice. And all the grocery, I think very soon the school started, and then I was lost in all the homework.
So, do you and your family keep up any of your cultural traditions from China, or are you gone more mainstream American?
I don't know, because my parents were not traditional Chinese. We didn't celebrate a lot of the traditional holidays or culture stuff. We celebrate back home. We celebrate Chinese New Year, a New Year calendar, New Year, Western calendar. That was about it. Actually, I learned more about my own culture while I was here. That's kind of funny. I met one of my jobs, I met a guy who was born in China, missionary family. He was born in China. He knew some Chinese, and he came back here when he was a few years old. And in college, he picked up Chinese language. He could speak Chinese, and he was telling me, I'm Chinese by birth. And he was telling me the origins of Chinese character. Nobody told me. I never knew that back in China. Never knew the origin of Chinese characters. I was fascinated. And he also said something, you know, the contribution of Chinese culture to the world. I said, I have no idea. He said, for example, the civil servant system here, you have to pass exam and become a government worker. That was all copied from the old Chinese system. And he said when Europe was still eating raw meat, China was having a fine cuisine already, also the porcelain, and all that. Also, Chinese emperors had very sophisticated system to collect tax from everyone. Well, Europe had all the castles and they were fed over. They couldn't have efficient way of collecting tax. Wow, that was fascinating. And then on campus there is Asian Study Center. There's a Chinese Center for Chinese Studies. After I finished school, I was working on campus for a year. And a few years later, I went back to work for the University of Michigan 5-6 more years. So during those working years, I went to a lot of the seminar offered by the Center for Chinese Studies. I learned so much about the Chinese history, language, and government system in the past. Also current. One seminar, they were talking about this tiny little kingdom in the basin of Sichuan province, like 100,000 years ago, how they run the country, and I thought, wow. People spend their whole life studying this tiny place for so many years back. But I was very fascinating to know those, and it's kind of funny that I learned all this here, but I'm glad I knew all those.
How do you feel like your educational experiences in China have differed from what your daughter has here in the United States?
Oh, huge difference. Well, I can only speak how I grew up. Things in China have changed dramatically after I left. I've been here 24 years, and this 24 years China had experienced huge change. And when I grew up, the school. When I first went to school, school was not was all destroyed in a way. The teachers were sent away. Like my parents, my father was a teacher, was a college educated, trained to be a teacher, but he was sent away. I said he wanted to be a farmer. The reason he wanted to be a farmer because it was safe to be a farmer. When he was a teacher, his student would criticize him, and some other teachers got tortured, sent to jail. To jail. Actually, he himself was sent to jail for one night because in one time the Chinese history, all the young students took power, took control, and they just grab everybody. If they don't like them, it was chaotic. That was when I was 2 years old. So one day he was somehow sent to jail for the night for whatever reason, and then, but he was in very good relationship with most of his students. One of his student was guard that night at the jail, and the student saw him and said, "Why are you here?" And my father said, "I didn't know they just sent me here." I said, "Oh, go home." So that's why he went for maybe 1 hour or something, and he went home. That's why when he felt it's safer to become a farmer. That's why he took us all down to the country, wanted to be a farmer. That's why I was interested in your farm equipment. When my father first got to the country, he was asking a farmer who was plowing, asked him about the angle between the plow and the main body, and the farmer said, "What is the angle?" Because my father was a master. He wants to make one. He wants to design and make one himself so he can use his own plow and become a farmer. But he didn't end up being a farmer. So I grew up, student was not respecting their teachers, but for thousands of years, teachers were like your parents. You respect, you listen to your teacher like you listen to your parents, but not when I was growing up. When I was growing up, you can abuse them verbally, even physically. The teacher couldn't hold classes. Student wasn't letting. So I spent a lot of time doing farm work. Students were sent to the field to pull the weeds out, to be educated by farmers, sent to factory to be educated by workers. And there's no music education. The only music education would be we would have to sing the revolution songs, which were not pretty. And then art would be, I remember year over year we draw sunrise, because sunrise symbolizes the new China and mall and stuff. That was nothing. That's why I want my daughter to do art and music and all the things that I didn't have. And that just a few weeks back, I started to learn piano on my own. Because my daughter said, "Don't let me do what you think I should do. Let me do what I want to do." And I said, "I want someone playing piano. If you're not playing, I'm going to play." So that's why I started like 3-4 weeks back. I said, "Okay, now I'm gonna make up my music education." So now I just learned to play piano myself. And then all the subjects, pretty much just memorize. Even math, you just memorize 1 + 2 is 3, not too much explanation of why. And also Chinese characters, you just memorize how to write it. No one tell you why these two parts makes one character, and one part means sound, one part means meaning. There's very little of that. And when I learned English, pretty much memorization, not understanding the rules, the Latin rules, not knowing that, and how you pronounce them. So for a long time, nobody can understand my pronunciation because nobody told me. So I was just reading and writing. So when my daughter went to school, I found out, wow, U.S. school, I love it. If they taught me English the way they taught kindergartner, then my English will be much, much better. This year I picked up Spanish online. I'm learning with Duolingo.com, and I felt, oh, this is enjoyment to learn a foreign language in a systematic way, in a fun way. Because I remember I love English when I first started learning, but that was a horrible way to learn it. Just memorize it, not knowing anything. So that, and also here you have very nice music, education, arts, and also there's a lot of thinking, critical thinking. Like my daughter's first year high school, she's doing research on refugee problem, and she is supposed to come up with her opinion about this issue, right? Her opinion about if it's how we help them, why we have refugee issue and all that. In China, it's pretty much you just take in whatever people give you, and then if you ever have your own opinion, which I usually had, you were criticized. I remember even when I was working as a college teacher, every week there's one afternoon, about 2 hours, it's a political study time. So we were college teachers, we didn't have to go to office, we can work, prepare lessons anywhere, home. But once a week we all meet together, all the math teachers meet together for 2 hours. We study the headline news from the party newspaper or something, or some government documents talk about this and that political issues. And I remember I always ask questions to the department head. I remember one time I was asking, I said, well, why our salary is so low? According to Karl Marx's political economics theory, that salary should be consist of my living expense, my family living expense, and my family members' education expense. I said, my salary doesn't consist of that. My salary barely covers my food. And I remember he said, don't ask questions. So you're not allowed to ask questions. Here, the education is that you're encouraged to ask questions. They encourage to ask a lot of questions. If you don't ask questions, then something is not right. It's very, very different. So it's here, I think from my daughter's education, I realized it's more about creativity, thinking, and a well-rounded person, not just academics, not just the math, physics, and the chemistry. It's about reading, writing, critical thinking. It's more well-rounded, and also even at a young age, they learn about world issues, social studies, world studies. Well, I grew up, there's very little. I didn't learn much about Chinese history or geology either. So it's totally, totally different. I like the education here better.
What kind of experiences have you had being a woman from China working in the United States? Do you think that played into the jobs you got, or the way you were treated, or anything?
Yeah. When I first came here, I pay a lot of attention about my English. If I said it right, if my pronunciation was okay, if my grammar was right. Now, after so many years, I don't care anymore. But so now I can start to pay attention about the nuances. If someone is being sarcastic, if someone is being sincere. But for the first few years, I didn't think about all those. In China, Mao liberated the society, and I think one of the good things he did was he made men and women equal. It's a different. In China, women was surprised, just like anywhere else, for thousands of years. And in U.S. and other places, women struggle to become equal. In China, Mao said, "Man and woman equal. Woman holds up half of the sky," and that was it. It's a mandatory. So women didn't struggle to get the equal status. When I was working, I was paid exactly same to the penny to a man that's graduated the same year. And it's public knowledge, whoever makes how much money. And every year you have 50 cents, you make 50 cents more or something like that. So every year with your seniority, your salary go up, but everybody, if you do the same job, you get paid. That doesn't say men and women get promoted the same rate, but on surface, everything. So we took that for granted. When I came here, I realized gradually that women were not treated equally. There are a few things that I was shocked. First, in China, when people get married, women didn't have to change their last name. But you become so-and-so's wife. People may not know your last name, but you don't have to change your last name. Here, when people get married, they change their last name. And I thought, that's not equal. That because men doesn't have to change their name. That's one thing. Another thing is when men and women go out date, men always pay. That's not equal, right? In China, I don't know. I didn't date that much, but I think when I was dating my ex-husband, I would just either slip the bill or I pay because that time I was making more money. Didn't have that. So we grow up, didn't have that concept of women need men's care. Like growing up, man and woman are equal. At least my parents didn't treat me and my brother differently. We were pretty much equal. There's but in China there's women's issue here too, but here it's just different representation. In China, more and more. I think the law before. The property was not divided the inheritance was not divided equally among girls and boys. Now I think it's the law that's equal. I didn't pay, but now here in U.S. there are a lot of discrimination against women. It's very subtle that. A lot of times that women were not portrayed right. Women were more portrayed as a sex subject. Then in China, it wasn't like that. That's when I grew up. Now I go back to China. It's different. Yeah, but I think. In many ways that men and women were more equal in China than the rest of the world because Mao said woman holds up half the sky. He did a lot of bad things, but he did this right.
So how do you self-identify? Do you think of yourself as a Chinese person or an American person or somewhere in between?
I became a naturalized American citizen in 2010. I didn't feel I was American right away, but now, after so many elections, voted, I feel like I'm American first, with Chinese heritage. When I became a naturalized citizen, the IRS person said, "Oh, you don't have to cut your ties with China. We're immigration country. We benefit from the connection with the old country. You don't have to Although if there's a war between China and U.S., that you have to be loyal to U.S., I cannot imagine to have to make a choice between China and the U.S. That'll be hard. But now, that's 6 years, right? Now I think it's easier for me to make decision if something. I feel more and more American than Chinese, because my all social economic ties are all here in this country, and my daughter was born here, and for her, she's American. She always said she doesn't like China this, doesn't like China that. When I first heard about it, I was very upset when she was little. I said, how can you criticize my country? But now I just keep quiet, because a lot of time I have to agree with her. The first time she went to China, she was 2. And she told me, she said, China is overly populated. And I was so surprised. I said, how can a 2-year-old tell China is overly populated? She said, there's too many people. What else she was saying about, I think, overpopulation. That was one observation she had. Another is people were rude. People were only nice to the people they know. So like New York, right? There are too many people, they don't care. That was another thing. But I think I feel more and more. I'm getting more and more involved in Chinese American political issues, how to become equal, how to fight against discrimination, racism in this country. I pay less attention about things going on in China. That's fading away more and more. It is more, especially with my daughter. Her future and her issues all here. We visit China once a year for 1 or 2 weeks. That's our China connection. And this is our country. Yeah.
So as someone who's now been here for a number of years, you're a citizen here, that kind of thing, what advice would you give to somebody who's just stepped off the plane and is about to be an immigrant here?
I would give the advice that I was given before I came here. Once you step out of China, you become a world citizen. Just open up your eyes, that don't just mingle only with Chinese. I probably didn't choose to become a roommate of 2 Indians. That's just how it ended up. But I think I benefit a lot knowing other culture and making friends from